It started with a simple question that refused to stay quiet. A late-night thought scrolling past highlights, goals on loop, stadiums roaring like oceans. How much do they really earn? Not the numbers flashed in headlines, not the clean figures clubs like to announce, but the true scale of it. The kind of money that moves silently, weekly, relentlessly, while the rest of the world measures time in paydays and bills. I didn't expect the answer to change how I saw football forever, but once you pull that thread, the entire fabric of the modern game begins to unravel. Football was never supposed to feel like this. Once, players were heroes of their towns, earning enough to live comfortably, but not untouchably. Then television arrived, then sponsors, then global fandom, and now we live in an era where a single week of wages for one player can equal a lifetime of earnings for thousands of fans who worship them. To understand how much Erling Haaland, Kylian Mbappé, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Lionel Messi really earn per week, you first have to understand how football money quietly evolved from survival to excess. In the early days, even the greatest players lived modestly. Legends of the past often speak about bonuses that paid for a car or a small house. Football was a job, not an empire. But as leagues became global products and players became walking brands, wages stopped being tied only to performance on the pitch. They became tied to attention. And no one on earth generates attention like the four names that now define an era. Lionel Messi's story begins far from luxury. A small boy in Rosario with a medical condition that threatened his dream before it even started. When Barcelona took a chance on him, they weren't investing in a marketing icon, they were investing in hope. His early contracts were modest, but as trophies piled up and records shattered, Messi became the face of an entire institution. By the time he reached his peak years at Barcelona, his earnings were no longer just a salary. They were a reflection of how much value one man could bring to a club, a league, and a global audience. At his highest point, Messi's weekly earnings from his Barcelona contract alone climbed into territory that felt unreal. When bonuses, image rights, and sponsorship-related clauses were included, his weekly income reportedly crossed several $1,000,000 every 7 days. While fans debated his loyalty or his performances, the financial machine around him kept moving. And when he left Barcelona, the shock wasn't just emotional, it was economic. Entire revenue models had been built around his presence. Cristiano Ronaldo's path was different, but no less revealing. From the streets of Madeira to Manchester, Madrid, Turin, and beyond, Ronaldo didn't just play football, he built a brand with ruthless precision. His wages grew steadily, then explosively. At Real Madrid, his weekly earnings reached levels that matched his status as the most marketable athlete on the planet. But what makes Ronaldo's income truly staggering is what exists beyond the club paycheck. When you break down Ronaldo's weekly earnings, the salary is only the foundation. Sponsorships, lifetime endorsement deals, personal businesses, and social media monetization add layers that dwarf traditional football wages. In some periods of his career, Ronaldo's off-pitch income per week exceeded what entire squads earned on the pitch. He wasn't just paid to score goals, he was paid to exist in public. Then there is Kylian Mbappé, the symbol of football's future meeting its financial present. Young, fast, charismatic, and politically significant within the sport, Mbappé's earnings shattered traditional age-based expectations. When Paris Saint-Germain fought to keep him, the numbers involved weren't just about football, they were about power, influence, control. Mbappé's reported weekly earnings reached levels that placed him among the highest-paid athletes in history, despite still being in the early stages of his career. His contract structure blurred lines between player and executive. Salary, loyalty bonuses, image rights, and decision-making power combined into a package that rewrote what a footballer could be worth. Every week, the money flowing into his accounts reflected not just goals and assists, but a strategic battle between clubs, leagues, and even nations. And then comes Erling Haaland, a reminder that football's financial future may be even more extreme than its present. Haaland represents the modern prototype, physically dominant, statistically outrageous, and commercially irresistible. His move to the top level came with a salary that instantly placed him among the elite. But like Messi in his prime and Ronaldo at his peak, Haaland's weekly earnings don't stop at the base wage. Performance bonuses tied to goals, appearances, and trophies quietly inflate his weekly income. Sponsorships align quickly with success. Release clauses and agent fees add another hidden layer to the financial ecosystem surrounding him. When you calculate what Haaland effectively earns per week during a successful season, the number becomes a symbol of football's accelerating economic gravity. But here's where the story becomes unsettling. These weekly earnings don't exist in isolation, they ripple outward. When one superstar earns millions per week, it shifts expectations across the entire market. Wages inflate, transfer fees climb, smaller clubs struggle to compete, ticket prices rise, subscription costs increase. The financial reality of Haaland, Mbappé, Ronaldo, and Messi is not just about them, it reshapes the sport for everyone else. Fans often argue over who deserves what, who earned it, who didn't. But the truth is, football wages are no longer purely about merit. They are about leverage, timing, negotiation power, marketability. Messi earned astronomical sums because Barcelona built an empire around him. Ronaldo did the same with his personal brand. Mbappé leveraged his position in a geopolitical football landscape. Haaland arrived at a moment when goals are data, and data is money. Per week, these players earn more than many clubs generate in months. And yet, clubs continue to pay. Why? Because the return on investment often justifies it. Shirt sales spike, sponsorship deals grow, global viewership increases. One player can shift a club's financial trajectory. In that sense, these wages are not madness. They are logic taken to its extreme. Still, the emotional gap remains. A fan working all week to afford a ticket watches a player earn in 90 minutes what they might earn in decades. This contrast fuels resentment, awe, and fascination all at once. Football becomes a mirror reflecting the inequalities of the modern world. The pitch is level, but the economy around it is anything but. When you truly understand how much these four players earn per week, the game feels different. Goals feel heavier, contracts feel political, transfers feel like financial chess moves rather than sporting decisions. The magic doesn't disappear, but it changes shape. You start to see football not just as competition, but as an industry built on emotion and monetized belief. And yet, despite the money, despite the excess, people keep watching, stadiums keep filling, kids keep dreaming, because no matter how high the wages climb, a goal in the last minute still feels priceless. A World Cup moment still freezes time. Messi lifting a trophy, Ronaldo screaming in triumph, Mbappé accelerating past defenders, Haaland smashing records. These moments remind us why the money exists in the first place. In the end, discovering how much Haaland, Mbappé, Ronaldo, and Messi really earn per week isn't just about numbers. It's about understanding what football has become, a global spectacle where talent meets capitalism at full speed, where heroes are measured not only by trophies, but by balance sheets, where passion fuels profit and profit reshapes passion. The money will keep growing, new stars will emerge, records will be broken again, but this era will always be remembered as the moment football crossed a line. Quietly, permanently, when weekly wages became headlines, when players became economies, and when fans realized that behind every roar of the crowd, there is a silent transaction reminding us just how powerful this game truly is.